I'm Jen from That Mama Book Nook, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I wish I was going to get to in May, otherwise known as my May TBR. May is always a super busy month in my life, but I am also participating in Escape the Readathon hosted by Books with Lexi, Go Team Mediums, and I still just want to make it a great reading month. As always, I am still participating in all of my year-long reading challenges, so as I go through my TBR, I will let you know if the books that I'm reading are fulfilling any challenges, why I'm choosing to read these books, and how I am obtaining each of the books. Also, I don't think I mentioned last month when I went through the different challenges a little bit more detailed, I also am trying to space out my challenges over the course of the entire year. So I am purposely only reading 1 to 4 challenge prompts per month, depending on how many prompts there are per challenge. Some of these are built in May-cember for the book. For example, January, you read for this prompt, buzzword, same thing. You get the idea. But there are other ones like the 52 Book Club or the Pop Sugar that you can read whatever prompt you want throughout the month. There's obviously, for 52, it's supposed to ideally be 1 per week is the idea of it, but you can mix and match, so I am just dividing those. When it comes to the end of the year, there is a chance that I have already read for that prompt, and if I am struggling and I do not want to add more books to my TBR, I might give myself some leeway and say, I read that book, that 100% fulfilled this prompt, I'm good to go. But as of now, I'm trying to space it out to make it a little bit more fun and challenging for myself. But there are a lot of books on for this month, so let's get started. So the first book that I am reading in May is The Ministry of Time by Kaliane Bradley. This I am reading with my local book club, and I picked it up at the bookstore that hosts the book club. This will complete the May-cember for the book challenge for a first sentence that is less than 8 words long. The first sentence is, "Perhaps he'll die this time." And ironically, this will also complete a 52 book club prompt of a final sentence that is less than 6 words long. And that sentence is, "They are time travel." Not a spoiler, we know it's a time travel book. So this book is set in the near future. Civil servant begins to work on a highly confidential project. A government ministry is gathering expats from across history to discover whether time travel is feasible, both for the human body and for the fabric of space-time. She will act as a bridge, living with, assisting, monitoring the expat known as 1847, or Commander Graham Gore, who, as far as history is concerned, died on Sir John Franklin's 1845 expedition to the Arctic. But as the bridge acquaints Gore with modern concepts such as washing machines and Spotify and the collapse of the British Empire, she finds herself falling in love with consequences she never could have imagined. This book won the Goodreads Choice Awards in 2024 for science fiction, and while I have heard mixed things about this one, I love a time travel book, so I am really excited to read it, and I think I could be one of the people who ends up loving it. I'm also just excited to see what everyone is talking about, whether they love it or hate it. Then I will be reading The Striker by Anna Huang with the Swoony Readers. I will be grabbing this one on Kindle Unlimited. Asher Donovan is a living legend, the darling of the Premier League, the arguably greatest footballer in the world. But his reckless antics and recent team transfer have caused much controversy. And when his feud with his rival turned teammate cost them a championship, they're forced to bond during off-season cross-training. Surviving the summer shouldn't be hard until Asher meets their new trainer. She's beautiful, talented, and no matter how hard he tries, he cannot take his mind off of her. The only problem? She's his rival's sister and completely off limits. Scarlett Dubois is a former prima ballerina whose career was cut short due to a tragic accident. Now a teacher at a prestigious dance academy, but she is still haunted by the ghosts of her past. The last thing she wants to do with her summer is to spend it cross-training Asher Donovan, of all people. She swore she would never date a footballer, but when her brother leaves town for an emergency, she finds herself thrown into dangerously close proximity with the gorgeous, charming striker. Training she can deal with, but falling in love? That's out of the question, especially when he is the only one with the power to break her heart. Anna Huang and I don't always see eye to eye, but I do enjoy a dance romance. I feel like I don't read enough of them, so I am looking forward to seeing if I will vibe with this one. Then I will be reading We Used to Live Here Now by Marcus Klewer. I will be reading this with the Thrills and Chills book club. As always, all the book clubs that I'm able to are linked down below. This will fulfill the buzzword prompt of to TO and to TOO in the title. It can be either or. So we used to live here. As a young queer couple who flip houses, Charlie and Eve can't believe that they've scored a killer deal on an old house in a picturesque neighborhood. As they're working on the house one day, there is a knock at the door. A man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived at the house years before and asking if it would be all right if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets them in. As soon as the strangers enter the home, inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child going missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. Even more weird, the family can't seem to take a hint that their visit should be over. And when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family, or is Eve just imagining things? This sounds so creepy. Then this month for the Literally Dead book club, I will be reading Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker. This is also available on Kindle Unlimited. Cora Zhang is a crime scene cleaner, but the bloody messes don't bother her, not when she has witnessed the most horrific thing possible, her sister being pushed in front of a train. The killer was never caught, and Cora is still haunted by the killer's last words, Bat Eater. These days, nobody can reach Cora, not her aunt, who wants her to prepare for the Hungry Ghost Festival, not her weird colleagues, and especially not the slack-jawed shadow lurking around her doorframe. After all, it can't be real, can it? After a series of unexplained killings in Chinatown, Cora believes someone may be targeting East Asian women and something might be targeting Cora herself. I'm pretty sure this is set during or after the pandemic. That's where some of this topic comes from. I am so excited to have the opportunity to read Emily Henry's new book, Great Big Beautiful Life. I pre-ordered this one from Barnes & Noble, and I will be reading this with the Booked with Babes book club. I am using this to fulfill a very simple 52 book club prompt of a standalone novel. I needed a gimme. Allie Scott is an eternal optimist still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, and they are both on balmy little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman that no one has seen in years, or at least to meet with the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives, tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. When Margaret invites them both for a 1-month trial period after which she'll choose who will be the person who will write her story, there are 3 things that are keeping Alice's head in the game. 1, Alice genuinely likes people, which means people genuinely usually like Alice. And she has a whole month to win over this legendary woman. 2, she's ready for the job and the chance to impress her perennially unimpressed unimpressed family with a serious publication. 3, Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken to the core way that shows he sees her as competition. But the problem is Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA, and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. And it's becoming abundantly clear that their story, just like the tale Margaret's spinning, could be a mystery, a love ballad, or a tragedy, depending on who's telling it. This one has been getting mixed reviews early on. I think some of it has to do with the marketing, some of it just has to do with people's expectations of an Emily Henry book. I actually think that from what I'm hearing, I might love it. It might be a book for me. It feels very Kate Morton, which is my favorite author. I love like genre blends. It has like that historical fiction feel and some romance. I've heard people say it's not a mystery, but it kind of was marketed as that, so there might be some mystery elements to it. So I'm excited to see what I think, and I will definitely report back. Then I will be continuing on in this series, The Nightshade Crown by Hannah F. Whitten, in preparation for the new book that comes out in July. And as soon as I finish The Foxglove King, which I am making my way through, I will be reading the second book in the series, The Hemlock Queen. I have this one on my Kindle from the publisher. No synopsis because spoilers, but in general, this is a romantic fantasy series about Lore, who is a necromancer and uses her power to raise the dead. As I said, I'm finishing up the first book, full thoughts to come. Then come all of my ARCs, my advanced reader copies that I am reading in May in preparation for their June releases. There are a lot of them. First up is The Palace of Illusions by Rowena Miller. I have most of these advanced reader copies on my Kindle. I will use this to fulfill a diverse reading prompt of a book set in 2 different places, which you will understand in a second. In the run-up to the 1900s World's Fair, Paris is a buzz with creative energy and innovation. Audiences are spellbound with the Lumiere's brothers' moving pictures and Loie Fuller's serpentine dance fusing art and technology. But for Clara Ironwood, a talented and pragmatic clockworker, nothing compares to the magic of her grandfather's mechanical creations. And she'd rather spend her time working on the Palace of Illusions, an intricate hall of mirrors that is one of the centerpieces of the World's Fair, when her godfather sends Clara a hideous nutcracker for Christmas. Maybe this is sounding familiar. She is puzzled until she finds a hidden compartment that unlocks a mirror world Paris, where the sin is musical and the fountains spout lemonade and mechanical ballerinas move with human-like grace. The magic of her godfather's toys was real. As Clara explores the other Paris and begins to imbue her own creations with its magic, she soon discovers a darker side to its innovation. Suspicious men begin to approach her outside of work, and she could swear a shadow is following her. There's no ignoring the danger she's in, but Clara doesn't know who to trust. The magic of the 2 Parises are colliding, and Clara must find the strength in herself to save them both. So this is a little play on the 2 different places because we have 2 different Parises, but also this is definitely obviously like a Nutcracker retelling, reimagining, so I think this sounds fun. Then I will be reading an advanced reader copy of The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison, also on my Kindle. This will fulfill a Pop Sugar prompt of an activity on my bucket list, which is visiting Ireland. With a leading role on a hit TV show and a relationship with Hollywood's latest heartthrob, Meg Ryan appears to have everything she ever wanted. But underneath the layers of makeup and hairspray, her happiness is as fake as her stage name, Lana Lord. Following a small breakdown at her 30th birthday party, she books an impromptu trip where she knows the grass is greener, Ireland. Specifically, the quaint little village where she and her best friend Amy always dreamed of moving, a dream that fell apart when an accident claimed Amy's life a decade ago. When Meg arrives, the people in town are so nice, treating her not not as a stranger, but as a friend, except for the extremely hot bartender who is giving her the cold shoulder. Meg writes it off as jet lag until she looks in the mirror. Her hair is no longer bleached within an inch of its life. Her skin has a few natural fine lines, and her nose looks like, well, her old nose, her real nose. Her phone reveals hundreds of pictures of her life in this little town, with an adorable dog she doesn't know, with the bartender who might be her ex-boyfriend, and a retail job unrelated to acting. Eventually, she comes to accept that she somehow made a quantum slide into an alternate version of her life. But the most shocking realization of all, in this life, her best friend Amy is alive and well, but wants nothing to do with Meg. Despite her bewilderment, Meg is clear-eyed about one thing. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to reconnect with her friend and repair what is broken. She finagles a way to act in the play that Amy is writing and directing, and as the project unfolds, Meg realizes that events as she remembers them may not be the only truth, and that an impossible choice looms ahead of her. Love an alternate reality book. I also have always been so interested in visiting Ireland ever since I did a short layover there on my way to Italy several years ago now, and I have heard that Ireland is very family friendly, hopefully someday. Then I will be reading another advanced reader copy that I have on my Kindle, Lie in the Tide by Holly Danvers. It's been 20 years since Maury, Avery, Remy, and Callista last saw each other, as they reconnect on Cape Cod to celebrate Callista's 40th birthday party. Each one hides a painful and devastating secret. Former introvert Maury is now a best-selling erotica author. She's more successful than she's ever dreamed, and yet shamefully on the cusp of divorce number 3. Remy's a yoga instructor, blissfully married to her high school sweetheart. On this trip, she's concealing a pregnancy and the baby's paternity. Quiet Avery is a farm wife living in Iowa. Her life doesn't have the scandals of her friends, but her house does have a house full of kids that she fears she'll never see again. And Callista, the quintessential suburban mom and high school English teacher, is harboring the biggest secret of all. These 4 women are about to learn that one little white lie could kill more than just their friendship. This was advertised as being recommended for fans of Leanne Moriarty, definitely giving Big Little Lies vibes. I had to give this one a shot. Then I have 6 Wild Crowns by Holly Race. This is also an advanced reader copy on my Kindle. I definitely got excited about all the new releases that were coming out apparently, and the arcs that were offered to me. This one will fulfill my S book in my Books Are Life challenge, as well as a 25 in 25 challenge of a number in the title. The king has been appointed by God to marry 6 queens. Those 6 queens are all that stand between the kingdom of Elben and ruin, or so we've been told. Each queen vies for attention. Clever, ambitious Bolin is determined to be the king's favorite. And if she must incite a war to win King Henry over, so be it. Seymour acts as a spy and an assassin in a court teeming with dragons, backstabbers, and strange magic. But when she and Bolin become the most unlikeliest of things, allies, the balance of power begins to shift. Together, they will discover an ancient, rotting magic at Elben's heart, a magic that their king will do anything to protect. The arcs don't stop there, not even close. Next up, I have The Mercy Makers by Tessa Grattan, which I also have on my Kindle. Iraset is a prodigy and an outlaw. The daughter of a powerful criminal, she dons her alter ego, Silk, to create magical disguises for those in her father's organization. But she longs to do more to enhance what it means to be human by giving people wings, night sight, and other abilities to unlock the possibilities of gender and parenthood, to cure diseases, and even to end mortality itself. Everything changes when her father is captured and sentenced to death. To save him, Erised must infiltrate the palace and the empire's fanatical ruling family. There, she realizes she has a chance and an obligation to bring down the entire corrupt system. She'll have to entangle herself in the lives of the emperor and his sister, getting them to trust and even to love her. But love is a two-way street, and Erised's own heart holds the most mysterious and impenetrable magic of all. The magic seems really unique in this. I believe this is the start of a trilogy, so I look forward to seeing if I enjoy it. So excited to start the advanced reader copy of Winging It With You by Chip Pons. I have an advanced reader copy of this on my Kindle, and I'm going to use it for a 25 and 25 prompt of LGBTQIA+ representation. Should be super fun. Asher Bennett thought his relationship was just fine until he's unceremoniously dumped at the Boston airport ahead of the worldwide travel competition reality show, The Epic Trek. Armed with only a ticket and righteous indignation, Asher finds the closest solace he can, a mimosa and mozzarella sticks combo at an airport TGI Fridays. Still, Asher is determined to find a new partner, and luckily right in front of him is a smooth-talking airline pilot, ready for takeoff. Theo Fernandez has been grounded. He's the only pilot that has never taken a vacation, and the edict has been passed: prove you're prioritizing a work-life balance or say goodbye to your wings. As he struggles to bask in his new downtime without reconnecting with his family, he stumbles upon the perfect opportunity. The handsome guy who stole his mozzarella sticks at his favorite terminal eatery has a sudden opening for a partner on a nationally televised reality show. Theo and Asher buckle up to fake date for the cameras, but as they do, the undercurrents of attraction make them wonder if their on-screen chemistry hints at something bigger. I'm reading this for a June book club read with the Booked with Babes book club, but the book is published on June 10th, so I want to make sure I start it in May to read it on time. But during our June book club chat, we actually are going to have an opportunity to chat with Chip, and I am so excited about that. I also just love the plot of this one. I'm a huge Amazing Race fan, and this is obviously giving those kind of vibes, so this should be really fun all around. Then I received an advanced reader copy of Friends with Benefits by Marissa Cantor. This one actually came out on May 6th, but I received the advanced reader copy a little bit on the later end, so I'm reading it now. Evie Bloom pays attention to the details. Her very job depends on it. As an aspiring Foley artist, she's responsible for every crisp footstep, smacking kiss, and distinct sound in film and television. So when she's selected for a fellowship opportunity that would make all her career dreams come true, she's quick to spot the catch. There are no health benefits, and for someone with chronic illness, that's a non-starter. Theo Cohen is an elementary school teacher who can't afford to live on his own in LA and is facing eviction after his roommates couple up and move out of their rent-controlled apartment. But there is one loophole in his lease. Each tenant must meet an income threshold unless the tenants are married. For Theo, the answer is obvious. Marry Evie, his best friend since forever. It's not as if they don't spend all of their free time together anyway. Not only will Theo be able to keep his apartment, but Evie can be added to his insurance plan so she can accept her dream fellowship. It's such a logical, practical solution. Never mind that Evie doesn't really want to be married not to Theo, not to anyone ever. Or the small, complicating fact that Theo has always been a tiny bit in love with Evie, but it doesn't have to be a big deal. Marriage. It will just give them space to breathe and much needed relief from the daily financial stress. It won't change anything. It's going to change everything. Then I was gifted a physical copy of Notes on Infinity by Austin Taylor from Celadon Books. I am getting a physical copy. It's in the mail. This will also fulfill a Pop Sugar prompt of a left-handed character, which was super hard to find, so I am glad to get that one out of the way. Zoe, the daughter of an MIT professor who grew up in her brother's shadow, can envision her future anew at Harvard. Jack, a left-handed boy in Zoe's organic chemistry class with unruly hair and a gleam of competitiveness, matches her intellect and curiosity with every breath. When Jack refers Zoe for a position in a prestigious professor's lab, the two become entwined as colleagues, staying up late to discuss scientific ideas. They find themselves on the cusp of the promise of immortality through a novel anti-aging drug. Zoe and Jack set off on their new project in secret. Finding encouraging results, they bring their work to an investor, drop out of Harvard, and form a startup. But after the money, the magazine covers, and the national news stories detailing their success, Zoe and Jack receive a startling accusation that threatens to destroy both the company they built and their friendship. Celadon Books actually set up a really cool buddy read that I was invited to. So I'm reading this book and discussing it with prompts and social media ideas with a small group of just 4 other bookstagrammers, and it's been so fun getting to know everyone and start chatting already. Then I received an advanced reader copy of Lexi Blake's new book, Built to Last. 3 young women make a pact in high school to always be friends and one day to make it big in Manhattan. Harper Ross has always dreamed of working on one of the magnificent brownstones in Park Avenue. Now, one of her closest friends has bought the house of her dreams and hired Harper to do the construction work. She wants to showcase the renovation on a television show for her brand new production company. It's the same grand home that she and her friends promised they would be able to afford one day. Working on it isn't the same as living in it, but it's all part of Harper's grand plan to grow her father's construction business into one of the biggest in the city. The only obstacle? The designer on the project. Reed Dorsey believes in the balance of beauty and functionality. As one of Manhattan's new voices in design, he's excited to get to work on a true Gilded Age property. If only the owner had selected a contractor that he actually enjoyed working with. Oh, Harper was brilliant and her work was excellent, but she has an opinion on everything, and it's usually opposite of his. Over the course of the project, these enemies start to see different sides of each other, and suddenly their fights don't seem so bad. But when the project is threatened, they might have to choose between their jobs and the beautifully designed future they could share. I had so much fun with the second book in the Park Avenue series, My Royal Showmance, so I am excited to read this one. I'm literally drowning in arcs, but also loving every single one of them this month. Bear with me. 2 more advanced reader copies. The first one is You, Me, and Forever by Laura Pavlov, also on my Kindle. I'm not sure if this is going to be a new series or if it's a standalone, but this is about Montana and Miles. Montana says Miles St. James is tearing her world apart, which she wished she'd known before she slept with him. It was supposed to be a one-night stand to blow off some steam because her ex had just gotten engaged and her dry spell was coming up on 6 months. And her booming wedding planning business that she started with her best friend was about to lose its favorite venue to some bulldozer happy developer from New York. The Seaside Inn has always been her happy place, her second home, and ever since a famous singer got married there, people are flocking to Blushing, Alaska for their own weddings too. But guess whose fling turns out to be the hotshot real estate guy? And he isn't what she expected. And sleeping with the enemy doesn't feel as nearly as wrong as it should. You know, Laura Pavlov romances are my comfort reads, so I'm glad I get to include this one this month. Then the last advanced reader copy in May is from one of my favorites. I've highlighted her a few times on my channel, but Jennifer Milliken's new book, Hugo, the second book in the Olive Township series, which is inspired by the Princess Bride movie, is coming out at the end of May. Retired fencing Olympian Hugo de la Vega lives a quiet life in Olive Township. He has his friends, his olive orchard, and a recurring daydream about what he would say to his father's murderer if he had the chance to look him in the eye. True crime broadcaster Mallory Hawkins arrives in the eclectic small desert town to investigate Hugo's father's murder from 20 years ago. A chance encounter at a sandwich shop has Hugo harmlessly flirting with Mallory until he realizes she's the stubborn woman who's been hounding him for months. Hugo's swift and emphatic refusal to support her investigation forces Mallory to reveal her personal connection to the case. Now Hugo is spending time with the woman whose emails he once deleted. She's witty, eternally curious, and pregnant. Finding this out should make it easier for Hugo to deny the magnetic pull he feels toward her, but it has the opposite effect. When a situation threatens Mallory and her baby's safety, Hugo finds himself moving her into his house at the orchard. Now they're splitting time between searching for justice and fighting their mutual attraction, until a middle-of-the-night encounter in the kitchen has them taking their relationship from professional to personal. With each passing day, Hugo gets closer to laying it all out on the line for Mallory. I can't wait. This will be my, fourth or fifth book by Jennifer Milliken. All of them very different, all of them 5 stars. I just love her writing and her stories. Then I have a couple of finished copies that I have been gifted by publishers and other companies, and I do try to put those on my TBR sooner rather than later. The first book is The Secrets of Flowers by Sally Page. I received this one when I was a rep for the book drop. I'm going to use this for a 52 book club prompt for a historical fiction set in spring. I could have picked any genre, but it just could not have been thriller, because I used that for a thriller set in winter in a previous one, so it just has to be a different genre in a different season. 1 year after her husband's death, Emma has become a wallflower, hiding among the brighter blooms in the florist where she works. But when a colleague invites her to talk on the Titanic, she begins a quest to uncover who arranged the flowers on board. As Emma discovers the lost story of the girl and the great ship, she realizes that flowers may unlock long-buried secrets in her own life. This cover is stunning. I love a Titanic story, and I think this one sounds beautiful. Then I have The Last Sunrise by Anna Todd, which I received from Gallery Books. Between chronic health issues and an overprotective mother, 22-year-old Oriya Para feels like she's stuck waiting for her life to begin. But when her mother's job takes them to Majorca, Rye knows this summer could be the start of her very own coming-to-age story. In her first small act of rebellion, she heads off to the beach alone and meets an infuriatingly charming Spaniard. Julian makes Rye feel even more naive and inexperienced than she usually does, but she can't tamp down her growing attraction. As the summer continues, Julian pulls Rye out of her shell and into the adventures she's always craved. But with her return to America looming, Rye must decide if she's brave enough to finally follow her heart and live for herself. I'm actually already almost done with this one, and I can't wait to share my thoughts. It's emotional and really good. Completely switching genres, but I also received from Gallery Books Polybius by Colin Armstrong. I'm going to use this for a diverse reading prompt of a epidemic or pandemic. It is 1982, and Andy Winston has just started her shift at the CD Arcade in the seaside town of Tasker Bay, California. With an aptitude for programming and dreams of moving to Silicon Valley, Andy avoids making friends by spending most of her free time repairing cabinets at Home Video World while her deadbeat boss is out looking for his next fix. But what starts as a pretty standard evening weekend takes a turn when a mysterious game called Polybius is rolled out and plugged in on the shop floor. The usually quiet arcade is suddenly overwhelmed with players clamoring to play the new game. Tensions have already been rising in town, with new developers coming in and trying to price out longtime residents, and a virus-like epidemic starts sweeping through Tasker Bay seemingly overnight. People are experiencing inexplicable fits of anger her paranoia and hallucinations. As if the circumstances weren't bad enough, a severe storm is about to make landfall, and a grisly act of violence is committed, plunging the town into complete chaos. Neither the town sheriff or its physician have any leads to the cause of this affliction. After observing the players of Polybius during a few shifts, Andy is convinced the dire situation is somehow linked to the game, and she reluctantly teams up with Roe, the sheriff's well-respected but adrift son, in a desperate attempt to stop the perplexing spread of violence. But before long, they too begin experiencing its side effects. Sounds so creepy, but I love the trope. I usually talk about tropes when I talk about romances, but I guess other genres can definitely have tropes too. But that aspect of when technology affects people in these like dark ways, like it reminds me of episodes of Black Mirror, which I really enjoyed. So should be interesting. Then ahead of the release of Ruth Ware's new book, The Woman in Suite 11, which I will read next month, I'm going to read the first book, The Woman in Cabin 10, which I was also given to by Gallery Books. Lo Blacklock is a journalist who writes for a travel magazine, has just been given the assignment of a lifetime, a week on a luxury cruise with only a handful of cabins. The sky is clear, the water is calm, and the veneered select guests jovial as the exclusive ship, the Aurora, begins her voyage in the picturesque North Sea. At first, Lo's stay is nothing but pleasant. The cabins are plush, the dinner parties are sparkling, and the guests are elegant. But as the week wears on, frigid winds whip the deck, gray skies fall, and Lo witnesses what only can be described as a dark and terrifying nightmare, a woman being thrown overboard. The problem? All passengers remain accounted for, and so the ship sails on as if nothing has happened, despite Lo's desperate attempts to convey that something or someone has gone terribly, terribly wrong. I hear pretty good things about this book. It's one that I hear about fairly often, and I've been wanting to try another Ruth Ware. 2 more books from Gallery. I was also gifted a copy of Gold Coast Dilemma by Nana Malone. I will use this to fulfill a pop sugar prompt of a person of color experiencing joy and not trauma. During an opulent publishing party, Afusua Ado crosses paths with Cole Drake for the first time. Their flirtatiously witty exchange culminates in a kiss that etches a permanent mark on both their hearts. But Ofusua's identity as a Ghanaian heiress comes before Cole. She loves the vibrant traditions of Ghana's Gold Coast, and her hand is already promised to a man that even her overbearing mother loves. Yet, when her big Ghanaian wedding transforms from a fairy tale into a spectacle, she's thrust into a whirlwind of heartbreak and self-discovery. In the midst of it all, Cole enters her life once again, under circumstances far different from their magical first encounter. I think this one sounds amazing. I'm really excited to read this one. The last gifted book is The Bearer of Bad News by Elizabeth Deeney. I will also use this one to fulfill a pop sugar prompt of an adult changing careers. For someone who hates secrets, Las Vegas hairdresser Lucy Ray is about to be faced with a whole bunch of them. After discovering that her fiance is cheating on her with someone from his improv class, Lucy finds herself short on funds and desperate for a change in scenery. Enter a most unusual job of the bearer of bad news. Sure, it's a little weird, but Lucy's employer is wealthy beyond compare, so who can blame her for wanting to outsource? Even if the job description is short on details and the bad news sounds more like a vaguely worded threat, Lucy can't say no to an all-expenses-paid trip to the Italian Dolomiti, plus a generous bonus if she proves she's found her client's sister and delivered the message. Then she learns her trip is just the tip of the iceberg, launched into a world of betrayal and greed involving 80-year-old secrets, stolen jewels, and a World War II era mystery. Lucy is in over her head, and she's connected to her mission in ways she never saw coming. Love the World War II history woven in, love the trip to Italy. This one should be really good. Then I have my personal challenges. For my longest book on my shelf, minus those out of order in a series, I have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, translated by Reg Keeland, at 590 pages. I got this at a little free library. This will fulfill a diverse reading prompt of a translated queer fiction. Harriet Wenger, a scion of one of Sweden's wealthiest families, disappeared over 40 years ago. All these years later, her aged uncle continues to seek the truth. He hires Mikael Blomqvist, a crusading journalist recently trapped by a libel conviction, to investigate. He is aided by the pierced and tattooed punk prodigy Lisbeth Salander. Together, they tap into the vein of unfathomable iniquity and astonishing corruption. Then, for my Goodreads Best Books Ever challenge, I will be reading Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I think I also picked this one up at a little free library, and this will fulfill the buzzword cover prompt of eyes on the cover. In Memoirs of a Geisha, we enter a world where appearances are paramount, where a girl's virginity is auctioned to the highest bidder, where women are trained to beguile the most powerful men, and where love is scorned as an illusion. Not a whole lot there, but it is obviously a very famous work. I may have read this one a long time ago, but if I did, I remember zero. Not even 100% sure if I read it, so I will be reading it again as part of my challenge. Then for my next highest rated book on my TBR, we have The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So excited to get back into the Hunger Games world after so many years. This will fulfill a 52 book club prompt of a prequel and the Books and Bulldogs May prompt of a book that has been made into a movie. And this one is available on Hoopla, which is awesome. So yes, this is a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy following President Snow kind of origin story. It is the morning of the reaping, which will kick off the 10th annual Hunger Games in the capital. Coriolanus Snow is 18 and preparing for his one shot at glory as a mentor in the Hunger Games. The once mighty House of Snow has fallen on hard times, its fate hanging on the slender chance that Coriolanus will be able to outcharm, outwit, and outmaneuver his fellow students to mentor the winning tribute. The odds are against him. He's been given the humiliating assignment of mentoring the female tribute from District 12, the lowest of the low. Their fates are now completely intertwined. Every choice Coriolanus makes could lead to favor or failure, triumph or ruin. Inside the arena, it will be a fight to the death. Outside the arena, Coriolanus starts to feel for his doomed tribute and must weigh his need to follow the rules against his desire to survive no matter what it takes. I love a good origin story. I think this will be a fun, fast read. Then I have It Was Always You by Laura Beth to fulfill my 12 books in 12 months picked by 12 friends challenge. This was picked by my friend Britt at Britt.bookcase. I have this one on my Kindle. Jenna Watkins has never quite found the place she belongs. Growing up as the only child of a military father, her life was constantly on the move. New city, new school, new faces. With a wild personality and a no-filter mouth, making friends wasn't something she was good at. That all changed the day she met Emmett Owens. At 15 years old, Emmett became the best friend she ever had. He was her confidant, the peanut butter to her jelly, and the one person she grew to trust with everything she knew. Over their 10 years of friendship, feelings blossomed, and so did the possibility of a true happily ever after, until he married someone else. 3 years later, Emmett is back, with his adorable daughter in tow, begging for a chance to prove himself. Jenna wants to believe he'd never hurt her, but she was foolish to think that once before. Yet, the more they rekindle their friendship, and the closer she grows to his daughter, those lines she so firmly planted start to blur. I think I'm going to love this one. And lastly, not an advanced reader copy, but a series that I need to read to get to the advanced reader copy. That is the State of the Union series by Nell Nicole, and I will be starting with the first book, Rising. I tried to put this on my TBR last year. It just didn't happen. I am prioritizing it this year. This is available on Kindle Unlimited. In a post-apocalyptic Earth ravaged by nuclear war, humanity struggles to survive amidst the aftermath of radiation that has altered DNA. Amongst the survivors, elemental magic runs through their veins, while a select few have developed extraordinary powers. Amaya is a fierce leader in the Compound, a powerful community in Monterey, California, that's been fighting to defend its borders against a series of attacks from the undead. But when her partner is tragically killed in an explosion, Amaya is consumed by a burning desire for vengeance. When a mysterious stranger appears at the gates of the compound, the truth behind the undead attacks is revealed. Amaya, her most trusted friends, and the stranger must embark on a dangerous mission to a territory. Along the way, they must navigate treacherous obstacles and captivity, ultimately uncovering a sinister plot involving a common enemy and a shocking betrayal that will test everything they know about trust and loyalty. I love a dystopian romance. That's all of them. Zero chance I get to all of them in the month of May, but I always do my best, and if not, hopefully I get to them at some point during the year because everything I put on my TBR rolls over. Regardless, I am so excited. They sound amazing, and I honestly just love my chaotic TBRs because of how many good books are coming up on my reading journey. I get very giddy about it. Let me know what is on your May TBR, any of the same, and if you're not feeling super chatty, but you just want to let me know that you were here, go ahead and leave a fire emoji for all the amazing books that I hopefully have the opportunity to read, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!